SKA South Africa says South African industry and institutions with the appropriate expertise may be eligible for financial assistance on a shared cost, shared risk basis towards participation in the design phase, which extends to 2016. Joining us now from Cape Town to discuss the practical ways to leverage square kilometre area project for business opportunities is Dr. Jasper Horrell, General Manager for Science, Computing and Innovation at SKA South Africa. Doctor, thanks for your time. Give us a sense of what kind of business we're talking about here and the size and scale of the value that's likely to be created following the coming to South Africa of this project.
Right, well then we're principally looking for very sort of high-tech business in the first phase of the design of the square kilometre array. So we're looking for businesses that have skills in antenna design, in sort of high-performance computing, in signal and data transport areas, those kind of businesses. So businesses that have some sort of established foothold in those areas. We're looking through this financial assistance program to enhance their capabilities and allow them to participate in the design phase of the SKA. It's important to note that the first sort of few years of the SKA, the funding for that needs to come from the member countries themselves in terms of the design. So there isn't centralized funding. So that's why we put together a financial assistance program from our budget at SKA South Africa to encourage industry to get involved early so as to build the skills and to become internationally competitive in the longer term, both for SKA contracts and also for additional work that might lie outside of that.
Yeah. How big is this budget that you're talking about?
We've got a budget of something like 50 million rand available for the first few years of involvement in the SKA sort of design work.
Right.
The longer term, back to your question earlier, the longer term involvement in SKA, we expect sort of much bigger benefits to the country. So this is a sort of an incentive scheme we're putting together now to get people going. But in the longer term, there will be construction contracts, and we hope that South African industry and institutions will be able to compete effectively in those construction contracts, and those will be obviously much bigger amounts. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar array here.
Yeah, I was certainly hoping that you would break it down in terms of just total value. So we're talking about more than $1 billion here in terms of the values that will be created by this project. But I just wanted to go back slightly to talk about what you are saying in the description of how this project will be undertaken. Shared cost, shared risk basis. What does that mean? Right,
well, what we're saying is that we're not going to be able to fund institutions and industry at sort of full commercial rates to become involved in this phase. So what we're really looking at is businesses that maybe wouldn't be able to participate, perhaps smaller businesses who would have an interest and perhaps in growing the skills to participate in the future. We're allowing them some sort of entry point into the process through this funding program.
Now, in terms of industries that are likely to benefit, I mean, you're talking about dishes and that kind of thing. Now, is this skill restricted to South Africa? Because I remember when the story came out that South Africa had won this, and of course together with Australia, one of the issues that came up was that this was going to be shared with the rest of Southern Africa. Is this going to be restricted to South Africa, or are the other SADC members that are part of this going to pick up the cost on their own?
In the longer term, with the sort of rollout of SKA into Africa, we expect there to be centralized construction funding for that. So we don't expect that the African partner countries would have to pick up sort of significant costs in terms of the construction of the SKA. Having said that, the SKA sort of Africa consortium and the way that will be structured is something that still has to be negotiated. So I can't give a sort of a final answer on that. But certainly for the construction phases, phase 1 and phase 2, we expect that the main member countries will be putting in the money to actually build the array.
Yeah. So give us an update on where we are with the overall project.
All right. Well, in terms of the SKA South Africa activities, we're busy with the rollout of the Meerkat radio telescope at the moment, which is a 64-dish system, and that should be ready in the crew by 2016. We've already built a 7-dish prototype called Cat7, and that's up and operational. The design phase of the SKA runs until about 2016, and then phase 1 construction should kick in from about 2017 till about sort of 2020 or so, in which case there should be another sort of 194 dishes added to that 64 in the Karoo to bring it something like to bring that total up to 250 or so. And then that will be operated at SKA Phase 1 dishes, And then there's a phase 2 after that where it gets expanded out to many thousands of dishes, plus additional receptor technologies in the form of mid-frequency aperture arrays. I won't try and explain what they are because it's a little bit technical.
Sure.
Plus a whole lot of low-frequency aperture array technology being deployed in Australia in the same timescales as well.